President Joe Biden has made it clear the world should expect more engagement from the United States. In his first major foreign policy address, Biden said the U.S. place on the world stage had been neglected under his predecessor. He says it's time for America to reclaim the grounding wire of its global power.
America is back. America is back. Diplomacy is back at the center of our foreign policy. As I said in my inaugural address, we will repair our alliances and engage with the world once again, not to meet yesterday's challenges, but today's and tomorrow's. American leadership must meet this new moment of advancing authoritarianism, including the growing ambitions of China to rival the United States and the determination of Russia to damage and disrupt our democracy.
Biden announced a number of foreign policy shifts, a crackdown on Russia's actions against the U.S., including interference and cyber attacks. In a bid to re-engage with allies, he will halt Donald Trump's move to withdraw 12,000 U.S. troops from Germany. But while Biden is engaging with some countries, he's distancing himself from others. The president ended U.S. support for a Saudi-led offensive in Yemen, freezing arms sales to Saudi Arabia. For more on this story, let's cross live now to our reporter, Colin Campbell, who's in Washington, D.C. for us. Colin, Biden saying he will take a tougher stance on Russia compared to his predecessor.
Good evening, Annalise. That's right. The president wants to lead when it comes to global influence coming from the United States. And he believes that in the past 4 years, we've kind of taken a back seat to issues like Russia. Now, two administrations ago, the big criticism of the Obama administration was that it was leading from behind. And although we didn't hear that same criticism coming from the Trump administration, it is widely held as a belief that this administration, the U.S., will depart from how the previous administration handled international affairs. And now when it comes to Russia, the president said that he wanted to address issues such as U.S. election intervention, which we heard a lot of during the last administration. Also, when it comes to Ukraine's autonomy and, of course, nuclear proliferation, and when it comes to poisoning of citizens in the case of Alexei Navalny. And the president said he was prepared to make any of these types of offenses very costly for Russia. He didn't outline in detail what those expenses would be when it comes to Russia, but we can only assume that it would come from various sanctions that he would put together with his foreign relations team and national advising team and other U.S. officials when trying to create a schedule of what these sanctions could look like.
Now, Colin, he also said he will be reviewing the movement of U.S. troops globally. What impact could that have?
Well, the president, of course, is looking at U.S. offense in Yemen, but also U.S. troops in Germany, where the U.S. troops have been since World War II and occupying various parts, or at least existing in various parts of that country in different iterations over the past several decades. Now, of course, the U.S. does have interests in Germany, mainly EUCOM, which helps to add support for NATO and for other global interests. But the president is looking at ways to possibly scale down U.S. troops in Germany, of course, decreasing the U.S. defense budget. He's also looking at issues in Burma, which he calls Burma, others call Myanmar, and in other occupations and other places where the U.S. does occupy spaces.
Now, he's also talked about the war in Yemen, saying it was time to end it. He's cutting support for the Saudi-led operations there.
Yeah, he is looking for more of a diplomatic resolution when it comes to Yemen. He definitely wants to wind down or end the U.S. offense in Yemen. He's also ended arms deals to Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. But this does not apply to all the areas, especially when it comes to AQAP, which is the Al-Qaeda presence in that area. He does also did remark on any influence that Iran may be having in that area, and he does has decided to continue support for Saudi Arabia in its defense against Iran. But as far as new arms sales, well, that's a no-go for the Biden administration for both Saudi Arabia and the United Emirates as he looks to wind down U.S. involvement in Yemen.